There's chat. I can read chat. That's a plus. Maybe. Oh, right. Actually opening the recipe might be a good idea. That's part of the whole thing. Right. Blueberries. We're going to wash them. Shake the water off. And then there's my blueberries. All right, so 2 cups of flour. Stupid ice. Have you tried substituting blueberries with chocolate chips? Such a thing does exist, Chris, however, not what I'm looking for today. Besides, look at those blueberries and tell me they don't look good. Tell me those don't look good. On the other hand, there's your chocolate chips. I made fudge the other day. Don't make me eat this fudge in front of you, Chris. I will taunt you. Hi, Czar. Alright, 2 cups of flour. One. Had more left in this bag than I realized. 2. Yeah, that was my first effort at fudge, though I couldn't record it, but really easy recipe. And it is tasty. But ultimately, it's melted chocolate chips mixed with condensed milk. So it's like, have you really done much? Yes, you have, because it tastes delicious. Okay. It's not a good recipe card here. They say 1 cup sugar. I'm actually going to do more like a ½ cup. I don't want too much sweetness. Goal is to be somewhat healthy with this. Okay. There's my sugar. They had so many flavors. You could learn to make your own fudge, Chris. Then you can mix in whatever flavor you want. Salt. Keep that handy, I may want it again. I mean, peppermint fudge, imagine how easy that would be. You mix in peppermint extract and maybe crush a little candy on top. How much baking powder am I supposed to be using here? It says baking powder. Two teaspoons baking powder. Right? Yeah. Okay. Try to keep sweets to a minimum. I do as well. I mean, that's why that fudge is still there, despite the fact I made it on the weekend. I'm limiting myself to a couple pieces here and there. My baking powder, as I make a mess. Trying to turn it for the camera. So you try to get too Hollywood and mistakes happen. Alright, I think that's it for the dry goods. Flour, sugar, baking powder, salt. Yep. Hey, Portia. Go mix the dry goods, which is an extra step, obviously. That can stay there. I need a half cup of butter melted. The oven has preheated. So my little sticks of butter, they're 1/4 cups. So I get my half cup just by melting 2 of these. I bought a cheap $10 stand from Walmart yesterday to hold this up better than the teapot I was trying to use to prop it up. I'm liking the improvements so far. This is a little easier on me. Alright. So butter is stuffed in the cup. About 45 seconds in the microwave should get it down to what we can work with. Hey, you know what would have been smart before now? To make sure I actually have muffin tins. I think I do. There it is. I should have double checked that before this point. Oh, and I need a little bowl. You'll do. It's not exactly little. Okay. There's the butter. Now there's still probably chunks in there. So I'm going to stir it down a little. And then the rest of the butter will melt. And then half a cup of melted butter. Two eggs. Two eggs in the vanilla extract. Just put that in with the butter for now. I'm not super good at my egg cracking, but functional. Okay, 2 eggs, butter and vanilla added. And real quick, I'm going to wash the raw egg off of my hands. Because strangely enough, I don't want to get raw egg over everything. Eggs, butter, and vanilla there. Looking to make sure the yolks are good and broken and mixed through. That looks fairly reasonable. And then let's mix. Theoretically, could use a whisk for this part. I'm just going to use a fork. Got to get that flour to stick. Rather not knead this with my hands. Well, I tell you, this is very different than what you get out of the box. It doesn't look like much, but there's a good bit of baking powder in there, so this is going to rise. This is absolutely gonna rise. And then it should be blueberry time. This is like, something in the translation always seems to get lost. This is like more volume of blueberries than batter. How is this supposed to work out? I guess I'll see what they actually say, but it should just be introduced the blueberries at this point. Fold in blueberries. Yeah. Is there supposed to be milkers? Was there milk in this? Half a cup of milk. The consistency felt wrong. That felt more like cookie dough than what I was expecting. So that would have mixed easier. Put the milk in from the start. That's what happens when you have a poorly organized recipe. Now, granted, I made the executive decision to mix my dry goods and wet goods separately, but that's fairly standard in baking. That's not an uncommon thing. That's typical advice that this recipe didn't take in, and then it doesn't separate them on the list at all. Okay, I'm going to put about half these blueberries in first. About half. We fold them in. The idea is not to break the blueberries. Don't force it too much. But blueberries everywhere. Blueberries everywhere, not broken. That looks pretty close to right. I'll add a few more. And we have ourselves some ready to bake blueberry muffin batter. Okay. You're coming up. They want you to use those little muffin wrap things. I forgot to get any, so we're just gonna put it in a pan. We in frame there. Good enough. I can get this out of the way. That's just the remaining blueberries. Those are the ones I didn't use. And then put it like that. It's pretty good. Batter looks good enough to eat. I agree. Although generally, health organizations and stuff do not recommend that you consume raw egg. Believed no 5-year-old ever. So we're just loading up the individual cups on here. I have no idea how much rising to expect. I almost wish I had done less baking powder. But, you know, generally your goal the first time is follow the recipe so that you can troubleshoot if there is a problem with the recipe easier. This, by the way, is my first time attempting to make blueberry muffins from scratch. I have made blueberry muffins plenty of times, you know, out of the Betty Crocker or Pillsbury box. I'm no stranger to using actual milk and actual butter to get actual muffins that taste good. Same thing I do for cakes. Cakes with actual milk, actual butter, you get an actual cake. That one looks a little low. And then you look like you could take an extra blueberry or two. You could take an extra couple. There. Hey, settle down, Looney Tune dogs. Couple finishing touch blueberries I think help. All right, horrible. Hey, Sensi. Recipe has horrible oven temperature. Somebody must live in the mountains. There's the nutrition information. You don't say how long to cook it. Cook time 30 minutes. That sounds long too. So let's set the timer for 12 minutes, and then that'll be a good chance to look in on it. Little cleanup in the background. Try not to leave a horrible mess. We have a few extra blueberries. I'll like throw them in a smoothie at some point. They're not the best, but blueberries by themselves aren't the best smoothie mix in, but they're okay. Alright, now then, so if we're ready to install, shut up, phone. I didn't ask you about stuff to install. have to actually get out a quarter cup, I'll just eyeball it, and that's pretty close to a quarter cup. Okay. Two tablespoons sugar. One. Two. Get those little pieces of everything flying everywhere. I'm trying to keep myself cleaned up as I go. You're there, aren't you? Yeah. Goodness, I bought brown sugar just to use 2 tablespoons. Oh gosh. That's such a waste. Very controlled here, not go crazy. 1. 2. Little sprinkle extra. Brown sugar's out of the way. Quarter teaspoon ground cinnamon. Pretty close. Very tiny amount of salt. In fact, I'm not even going to try and measure that. We're just going to do a pinch of salt. This part did not make sense. Which does it want? 2 tablespoons. Yeah, that's pretty close. goodness. The smell is wonderful. We have a wonderful smell in the air now. That should get my butter malleable. So I'm just trying to break it up here, not melt it. Do that before I bang my head, because I inevitably will bang my head if I don't take proper caution. The smell of baking blueberries, of muffins, and cinnamon is in the air. It's wonderful. The smell is absolutely wonderful. That's about as much as I'm getting it to break up the way I'm doing it. Oh, I think I kind of see what you're going for. This probably would have been clearer in a video. Shoot, I may be in the worst of all worlds now. Yep, this isn't gonna work. I have a plan. That plan's gonna require a little more butter and require it to be melted. I think I can save this still. So it's like supposed to clump around the butter, but it doesn't. It's too little butter for that. Supposed to bake this? Shoot, now I'm not going to get the same recipe. Alright, that's the only way this makes sense. We're just going to do it. Made the mistake of closing the recipe I was working on. Never do that. I've never done it this way before, but this is the only way I see to bail out of this. That, or I guess I could have just abandoned the topping. That's what the recipe said. The recipe had topping. I can't just ignore the recipe just because I want to. So very often people are bad about writing their instructions down. They'll just like skip steps that they think are obvious. Or they expected me to watch the video. That was a ridiculous assumption. And then the video maybe would have answered the question. Maybe. Probably wouldn't have even been deliberately stated, they just would have done it without telling you. But a good recipe tells you exactly what you're doing. I do not care for this topping recipe. I probably wouldn't do this part again, but here we are. Let's make the most of it. Alright, and I'm not using the rest of that. Just for quality of life, I'm going to wipe off the tin a little, so that it's not baking stuff in where I don't want stuff baked in. And then ten minutes or so. Okay, so that's how much topping I didn't use, which is a lot relative to how much it had me make, but that just, it wasn't working. So there's limitations sometimes on what you can do. All right, well, what's left is a little cleanup. After all, you don't want ants. The topping that I didn't use, I'll throw away. Hey, Dharma. Put some blueberries in the shop just so there's something. Topping mix is thrown out and rinsed out. Where the butter and whatnot, rinsed out. Clean as you go, as much as possible is always recommended. It's much easier to clean, even basic clean, as you go. Alright, gotta get my measuring cups. Next. That's rinsed out. I'll put it all through the washing machine later. But we want to keep anything from sticking before I actually do that. Got those looking good. No utensils were harmed in the making of this blueberry muffins. Alright, I got 6 minutes on my clock before I'm going to open up and look at them again. We'll see how that goes. Smells a little mild. Don't really get that wonderful smell right now. But we'll get a nice shot of the finished product here. There we go. Are you hungry? Come on, who's hungry? Who's looking at that and saying, I'm hungry? I'm pretty hungry. I almost want to burn my tongue just to dive into one.